As you see, this is her Instagram, Saisha. It says, "They kidnapped my baby. Peace, everyone. I know it's been a while since I've posted, and never could I have imagined returning back to this platform with news like this. On March 11th, my son was stolen from me. I was surrounded by CPS and armed officers with racially charged questions and false claims that we refused a B12 shot."
Doctors called after concerns over Amin-Ra's failing health.
Our investigators learned through medical professionals that this child was malnourished, underweight, very unhealthy, and
Hey, what's up? It's your girl Nique, and you're tuned in to Nique at Night. And tonight we're going to be talking about the American Idol contestant Saisha Mercado, who she is saying that her child was legally kidnapped and she is demanding for justice of her child. Now, if you watched American Idol, she was on the 7th season of American Idol, and she was the 3rd place finalist on that season. She is 34 years old from Bridgeport, Connecticut, and her child's father are demanding for justice. If this is your first time here, my name is Nique, and over here we are the Night Owls. I also have a website where I sell all types of goodies, men pajamas, women pajamas, and some kinky, nice stuff for the bedroom. So definitely check out my website, www.niqueatnight.com. But let's get into the video, okay? Let's hop on in and see what is going on with this story.
Saisha Mercado's voice won over hearts 13 years ago as she took 3rd place on American Idol. Now she's using her voice to fight for custody of her son.
I refuse to let my story be unseen and unheard.
In late February, Mercado and her partner, Tyron Denner, says they brought their then 13-month-old son, Amin-Ra, to Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital.
I'm a breastfeeding mother who recently found out that I was pregnant and my milk supply went down.
Mercado says her son was having a hard time transitioning from breastfeeding to bottle and solid foods.
I was met with a lot of judgment and accusations that literally just started to spiral out of control.
The family says hospital staff suggested a B12 shot.
That process in the time of our son being in the hospital, it wasn't a welcoming experience.
They say they asked for more information, but instead were met by law enforcement and investigators with Manatee County Child Protective Services.
Never could I have imagined going to that specific hospital to get help for my child, but walking away without my child.
Investigators say
All right. So I'm gonna pause it right there. She has basically been pleading for the return of her son on social media and speaking out against the hospital, who she says legally kidnapped her son by taking him, and they took him off into authorities because she was having problems lactating her son. I guess he was not adjusting or taking the breast milk too well. There was a little bit of malnutrition going on, and took him to the hospital. The hospital recommended a B12 shot. The parents were saying that, listen, we said like we wanted more information. So I guess they didn't say yes right away. They wanted more information about it. And from them, I guess, not immediately saying yes to getting this B12 shot, then law enforcement was called, and then her child was basically kidnapped into the system, and she has now been without her child for 53 days. Now, when I had problems lactating with my daughter, basically what they did was send a lactation nurse to the house to assist me with that. So I don't understand why in this situation they didn't send like a nurse out if they felt like she needed extra assistance. But let me let them say a little bit more.
Doctors called after concerns over Amin-Ra's failing health.
our investigators learned through medical professionals that this child was malnourished, underweight, very unhealthy. And we were also told by these medical professionals that unless he got the treatment that he needed, ongoing consistent treatment, that he would die.
Manatee County says a judge chose to place Amin-Ra at first in a medical foster care home.
It's our understanding that there had been a breakdown, a lack of medical care.
In a statement, Mercado told Fox 13 she favors a holistic approach to healthcare and that her son has been seen by medical doctors and a lactation specialist before his visit to All Children's Hospital. The Manatee County Sheriff's Office closed its investigation in March. They say Amin-Ra has gained weight and is thriving. They hope he will soon be reunited with his parents.
We want him to go back home. It's just going to happen at the appropriate time.
But that will be left for the judge to decide. Kimberly Quizon, Fox 13 News.
So they're leaving it up to a judge, and the mother feels as though her child has been kidnapped. She doesn't understand why her wanting more information for this shot, them saying that they wanted to give the baby a B12 shot. She likes to go a holistic route. And, a lot of moms, not everybody wants to inject their kids with a bunch of stuff, especially if you're a dedicated mom who wants to do breastfeeding. But at the point where you see that your child's health is in the way, you got to kind of weigh your options at that point. Like, if the child is not lactating and you know that they're not getting nutrition, even though it sucks, you don't want to give them formula or whatever. Like, as soon as my baby wasn't lactating, I called the nurse, and it just wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. I put my baby on formula. Like, some people are really dedicated to a fault to do the breastfeeding route and to go those routes, when that doesn't work for every baby. Your body and the lactation, it doesn't work for every baby. So I'm guessing it was to the point to where the baby was so malnutrition to where they felt like the baby was almost on the verge of, blinking out of here. And I am assuming that they felt like the parents were negligent for it to get to that point. That's kind of what it sounds like. But on the flip side of it, the mom is looking at it like, how y'all just gonna take my child when I'm bringing my child to the hospital to get help? Like she said that she had already seen a holistic doctor. She had already seen a lactation nurse. So she was seeking out help for her baby. It's not like she didn't try to, help her baby at all. Like, she didn't do nothing at all. She's taking it to the hospital. So the fact that they put the baby in medical foster care, I don't know. But she spoke out on her Instagram, and this is what she had to say. Let me pull it up. So in the caption of her post, it says, "They kidnapped my baby." And she's speaking and she's sharing moments about her son. As you see, this is her Instagram, Saisha. It says, "They kidnapped my baby. Peace, everyone. I know it's been a while since I posted, and never could I have imagined returning back to this platform with news like this. On March 11th, my son was stolen from me. I was surrounded by CPS and armed officers with racially charged questions and false claims that we refused a B12 shot during our hospital stay to get my son fluids. RA was transitioning from extended breastfeeding to the bottle. My son was placed in a white foster home, bypassing our qualified relatives for placement. This is legalized kidnapping. I can't even explain how traumatizing it has been to be forcefully removed from my proudest creation in this life, my son, my pride and joy. Amin-Ra." The police officer dismissively said, "It's just one night," but that one night turned into 53. 53 nights without being able to sing him to sleep and kiss his forehead goodnight. There are literally no words that can express how I have to relive that day every day. Every moment leading up to the decision to take him to the hospital. That specific hospital. Black women are so unprotected in this system, and I refuse to be silent and allow this to happen to another Black woman or child. Today, I'm taking a stand to fight back. I will not be silenced. I need my tribe more than ever right now to stand with me to bring our baby home, to bring Ra home. We demand to hold those who are responsible accountable. Our son should never have been taken from us, and I refuse to let our story go unheard and unseen. We have hired a lawyer and started a campaign to help with our mounting legal fees, necessary expenses for medical specialists, and team members that will help us fight back. It will take a big backing for us to fight against a system that is doing everything in its power to destroy us. To stand up against this system and its way of thinking and laws steeped in colonial times, we need your support. Click the link in my bio to share and support. Help me bring my baby back home. So her Instagram is SYESHA if you want to go to her Instagram and click the link in her bio. Now I'm going to show you and share with you the video of her speaking and breaking down about this situation. Me as a mom, I can't even imagine or fathom what it is for her, like for her to go through this. Get help, but for them to take your child away and place it in a foster care home. Like, let me play this.
It'll never be enough. I'm in her closet and now I put your onesie. I sleep with it at night like this. And I go like this to bring me comfort. But it'll never be enough until you're back with us. I never imagined if I were to go to that hospital, I would be leaving without. It's nobody ever needs to feel this pain. It hurts so bad. Bruh, I stay strong. But I'm gonna let my voice be heard. Because
I can't imagine.
They claim they removed you because of a B12 shot. They said that I refused the B12 shot, which I did. And the police officer said, it's only one night. But that one night turned into 53 nights.
Okay. So that is her post. And so she was basically saying, like, they're saying that I refused the B12 shot. And as you've seen on the news clipping, they basically were saying that they just asked for more information, which, I mean, they're entitled to want to know more information on what people are injecting into their child, especially if they are looking to have a more natural, a more holistic approach, but at the time where he's so badly malnutrition, I don't know, I still couldn't imagine it. Like, she's still going to seek help. Like, the baby's not dead. Like, she's trying to get help. So for them to just totally take the baby from her, I mean, it definitely raises an eyebrow. And this woman, Saisha, she called out this medical professional by name. She was basically saying that, Sally Smith, MD, at the Johns Hopkins Hospital is responsible for being negligent and causing turmoil to several other families. And she pretty much shared this on her IG story as well to alert people that it's just not her story, but there are several other mothers who have gone through traumatic experiences where this Sally MD lady has basically uprooted their child and claimed that they were negligent when they did not feel like they were, and several people who have fought back. And yet she still has a job and she's still working. I'm going to show you the article that she was posting in her IG story, but I'm going to first show you exactly what she posted on her IG story to alert people and name this person by name. Sally Smith has falsely accused too many parents. This is all on her IG story. And then it says, after only one visit that lasts for 5 to 10 minutes, she somehow gathers enough info to write her 10-page fictional story. This is a post from 2019. And so this was December 10th of 2019, where she was accused of bad medicine. Okay, and it says, bad medicine. Critics say a powerful Florida pediatrician was too quick to diagnose child abuse traumatizing families. So this says, a Florida doctor too quick to diagnose child abuse, critics say. So she has been under fire, this lady. So you can see her full post right here. Sorry, I had the post cropped off. And this also is the article. It says, Sally Smith told me that if I didn't tell them what was wrong, then my children would be put in foster care, Brown said. She looked us straight in the eye and said, one of you is lying and one of you abused your children. And it says, this devil, Dr. Sally Smith, look her up. She's destroying families. And so she's talking about like a press conference that she had on Mother's Day. So those are the posts that she has up on her Instagram. Okay, and the article that she was sharing in her IG story is this article right here where it's titled Torn Apart. Bad medicine. Critics say powerful pediatrician too quick to diagnose child abuse traumatizing families. And it outlines a few different families who felt like they were traumatized by this Sally MD who diagnosed her child, Saisha's child, and put her child into medical foster care. So I'm going to read through all of the other claims that people made against her. She has been having claim after claim after claim where people have been getting lawyers fighting her back. And it's a surprise that she still has the position that she has. But first, before I do that, I'm going to show you a video of how she feels about these parents. She already feels as though they're lying from the get-go. And so she already feels like you're lying, and she thinks that a lot of these people are just abusing their children without properly reading their charts to find out if it was some other causes. And she has also been proven wrong by other medical professionals a lot of the times, but by that time, the damage that she has done to these families has already been done. I'm going to show you the video where she's talking about how she feels about these families, and then I'm going to read through the other families' claims.
It's about twice as likely that there will be drug abuse and alcohol abuse in the family in households where there are victims of child abuse. Disability is a risk factor. In Florida, prior report to the child abuse hotline is a very high risk factor. It's worse than many other parts of the country, and it's complicated, but we see over and over again children who are reported to the hotline. Sure, there are people who are wrongly accused, but I don't know, anybody show of hands in the room? Anybody had 10 reports to the child abuse hotline regarding their family? So, once, yeah, maybe that was just a fluke, but, over and over and over again, and then they keep coming up with there's no findings, it doesn't make any sense. One of the things we have to really keep in mind is that the primary problem with child abuse is that the person who has abused the child is full-on lying about what happened. And we have to remember that what we're being told is the history is a bunch of baloney, and it's our job to figure that out. So again, in the history, and this is a little different because in many of these children, they're young children, and so they can't give their own history. So we're getting history from the caretakers. And again, keep in mind that they're usually lying. So we have to ask lots of questions to trip them up. Most of the time, they've thought of the main lie, but they haven't thought of all the details. So if you keep asking questions, the story falls apart. And so that is where we get this idea of sort of inconsistent details, different details provided by different caretakers when they're interviewed separately. If we keep going backwards, then we often get information in terms of what was going on leading up to this injury that the child sustained. When in a child who's brain dead was the last time that they were up and running around and playing, because that tells you that at that point, this injury had not occurred.
Okay, so that was just a quick snippet on how she feels in her position and going into her thought process on a lot of these families. This is a clip from a 2015 lecture that she had given for the All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg. So those of you who are wondering like which hospital this was and that and this and that and this and that, this is a hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida. And she's at the All Children's Hospital, and this was a lecture that she gave on behalf of the works that she does. Now, let me read through this article of all of the different complaints that people have had against her and how they fought against her and how her claims were not always correct and how she has made a lot of like irreversible damage to these families with this idea and this thought process that everyone is lying and everyone is just abusing their children. So in this, it talks about a family right here, and it says, Alina went into labor on a scorching day in July. It would be the second child for her and her husband, immigrants from Ukraine who ran a trucking business in Sarasota County. They picked out Western names, Adele for their rambunctious little girl, William for the child inside her belly, the son they had prayed for. And so even though Alina wasn't dilated, even though she was afraid when the nurses told her to push, Alina pushed. And then so it says less than 2 hours later, William was born in a torrent of blood, his umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, his face blue, bruises dotted his face and shoulders. For 2 weeks, he cried every time he was touched. The pediatrician reassured them that their son had a traumatic birth and sensitive skin, but was otherwise healthy. Then when William was 33 days old, Alina noticed him twitching. At Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, doctors found bleeding in William's brain and 2 rib fractures. The next day, Dr. Sally Smith came to examine him. Alina and Vadim Kushner say Smith did not introduce herself or answer the couple's questions. Instead, she took photos of every part of William's body, including his genitals and a bruise on his hand from the IV. On her way out, Smith turned to them. "This is child abuse, and I'm going to prove it," she said, according to Vadim. The Kushners had never heard of Smith. Few have, but the 61-year-old pediatrician is one of the most powerful figures in the child welfare system along Florida's Gulf Coast. So they're saying that, there was complications with the birth. There was situations when she gave birth, the baby was black and blue and things like that. And 33 days later, this lady that took Saisha's child into medical foster care told them that their baby had a child abuse situation. So it says, as the Kushners had never heard of her or whatever. And then it says, as the head of Pinellas County Child Protective Team, Smith examines virtually every child funneled to all children's hospitals with suspicious injuries. Among prosecutors, her word is like gold. So it says, yet for years, defense attorneys, parents, and even child welfare employees have complained about Smith's aggressive interrogation of parents, wondered why she often saw injuries invisible to other doctors, and they basically question the specifics of her claims. It says, it has been flabbergasting to me that she has been given the credence she's been given by the state's attorney and the sheriff's office, said longtime defense attorney. And it says, doctors and other experts say that Smith has a nearly impossible job, be too cautious, and she could send a child home to an abuser, too aggressive, and she can send an innocent to jail. So it says, when reached by phone, Smith denied any problems with my work and directed further questions to the Florida Department of Health, which oversees the state of child protective teams. So that was one situation. So then, okay, so it says, the USA Today Network reviewed hundreds of Smith's cases in conjunction with a multi-part investigation into Florida's child welfare system to be published in the coming months. It found more than a dozen instances where charges were dropped, parents were acquitted, or caregivers had credible claims of innocence, yet suffered irredeemable damage to their lives and reputation. So it says Beata Kowalski, a 43-year-old mother of two, died by suicide in 2017 after Smith accused her of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a rare disorder in which parents fakes a child's illness for sympathy or gain. Her family members are now suing Smith and All Children's Hospital for what they said were trumped up claims. She has affected the lives of several people. This woman who's 43, she died she killed herself and offed herself because the lady told her, like, you over here faking your child's illness, and the lady ended up offing herself. So it also says John Stewart, a Marine Corps veteran, spent 300 days in jail on Smith's allegations that he killed his girlfriend's son by throwing him repeatedly against a soft surface. Prosecutors dropped the charges after a neuropathologist contradicted Smith's findings, according to internal memos. Okay, so this guy was almost sent up the river by her claims, and a neuropathologist contradicted it and things like that. So it says Tara Brown, 39, underwent 3 grueling rounds of vitro fertilization to conceive twins with her physician husband. She was accused of inflicting countless fractures on her 6-week-old infants, but the charges were expunged after another doctor diagnosed them with a rare bone disorder. Okay, it says Sally Smith told me that if I didn't tell them what was wrong, then my children would be put in foster care, Brown said. She looked us straight in the eye and she said, one of you is lying and one of you abused your children. Parents forced to defend themselves against Smith believe the extraordinary power of so-called child abuse pediatricians, a relatively new specialty, should be subject to more checks and balances. You get a second opinion for any major disease, said Zachary, a Sarasota engineer who spent nearly $40,000 fighting charges that he broke his infant son's femur. Smith took 10 minutes to a couple of pictures, checked his genitals, and then left. 10 minutes, but it changes the course of our lives. So this person had to spend $40,000 fighting her against her claims. It says 2 weeks after Smith's cryptic visit, an investigator from the Department of Children and Families escorted the Kushners out of the hospital where they had kept sleepless vigils for weeks. The department then took custody of William and his sister. In family court, Smith claimed the Kushners subjected their son to egregious abuse. She said the mixture of old and new blood in William's brain proved that he had been abused multiple times since birth. Violent shaking would be one possibility, she said. Slamming him on the bed 15 times would be another. His rib fractures, she said, were 2 to 3 weeks old, caused by someone crushing his chest. According to the DCFS document, Smith also claimed a linear bruise on Williams' arm indicated high force blunt trauma. To the attorneys representing the Kushners, Smith's opinions came off as outlandish. They said the linear bruise was in fact a small rash that Alina herself had shown to Williams' pediatrician at a recent visit. According to court records, the pediatrician testified the rash was likely from the straps of Williams' car seat and was so small that she would not have noticed it had Alina not pointed it out. When defense attorneys asked whether birth trauma could have explained Williams' injuries, Smith admitted she had only partially examined the birth records. Even the imaging findings were in question. California radiologist Dr. Susan argued that Williams' hemorrhages were rebloods from birth trauma, not from shaking. In her report, Gutnick argued Williams' rib fractures were closer to 6 weeks old, right around the time of his birth. So this is all kind of things detailing when people had issues. This is like a lot of research of different cases where people basically were calling out her practices. If you guys want to read through this detailed report of her line by line and all the times that people accused her, all of the families who have accused her of egregious reports and outlandish reports and things like that, I will link this article below. But back to the part of why this video was made. This video was made to bring awareness to that hospital on behalf of Saisha and what she's going through with her child. What do you think about the claims that she's making that her child was legally kidnapped and they have not since returned her child to her, and what she's going through in that situation? I know in her post, she brung up race a lot of the times. And in a lot of the times, a lot of this stuff does have to do with race. But going through that article and seeing all of the parents who have been affected by that same doctor who are not black, I just think that she's probably an old bimbo who probably never had kids herself and probably could never even get kids. I'm just making an assumption. I don't know that lady, but just the way she comes off, she probably one of those type of people who never had kids herself. So she judges parents harshly when things happen with their children to an extreme degree. And it's crazy that she's still in that position at that hospital, but I guess not enough noise has been made. So as it pertains to Saisha, if you want to donate to her and help her out with her expenses, she has expenses that she wants to be able to get an attorney and things like that. You can, donate to her GoFundMe account, and you can get her GoFundMe account by going to her Instagram and then clicking the link in her bio if you want to find out more about her story, help her out, and things like that. But I just wanted to bring awareness to this story. You guys let me know what you think about it. Let's talk about it down below. If this is your first time here, my name is Nique, and no matter the story, I'm always going to promote myself as well. I talk about these serious topics, but I also remind you guys that I am a black woman with a black business, and you can visit my website, www.niqueatnight.com, to see the goodies that I have available. If you want to see more stories like this, I get these types of things sent to me all the time, and I appreciate all of the people who have been sending me stories. Just know that it takes me time to get to these stories because in addition to what people send me, I have to do research myself. I have to take time to, vet articles and look through things and read through stuff. And, so it takes me time. So if you've sent me a topic that you want me to discuss, and I have not gotten back to you yet on the DM, just send me another reminder because sometimes I get sidetracked. Like my night owl who sent this in to me sent me a few times like, hey, just give you a reminder. Like, this is what's going on with her story. This is what's going on with her story. And like, I get distracted a lot because it's all so much stories happening at once. So if you have sent me a story that you feel is very important that should be covered, know that it takes me a little bit of time. But if I haven't reached back out to you about the story, or even if I did, but I haven't touched on it on my channel yet, just give me a reminder on my Instagram and say, hey, Nique, just giving you a reminder about this story that I thought you should cover, yada, 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 because there were several stories that have been sent to me and I haven't got a chance to touch yet. So give me a reminder if that's the case. I have so many DMs to go through. It's so hard to pinpoint like, okay, this is that story, da da da. So give me a reminder, you guys. I appreciate everyone who sends me these types of things in because we want to talk about the important things as well as we talk about the gossip. And so on that note, I am out. If you have not subscribed, hit subscribe. If you're not on my Instagram, go to my Instagram. Follow me there. Follow me here. Follow me everywhere. Check all the links in the description where you can find my website, where you can find my other YouTube, and you can find, all that jazz. All right, guys. Peace.